Well, hello. So we are going live. I always give it a second because I have found on numerous occasions I will start halfway into the conversation and it drives me bananas. So I'm giving a couple seconds. We're going to stall, get a couple of people in here. So today is actually a really fun one. I'm going to try to share this live video. Let's see here. Join us. There we go. All right. Also trying to make sure it hits social media and everywhere else. Let's see. So I've gotten a haircut since the last time. I don't look like a disheveled person. Still disheveled, but I just don't look like it. We had our halfway to Halloween event that has come and gone. We are gearing up for Frightreads proper, which my ticker is not tickering. There she is. All right. So we have tons of guests, tons of authors, tons of movie stars, television legends. If you saw today on social media, we had a announcement for Hip Hop McDougal. If you haven't seen those guys, they're a duo out of DC that does some just stupid, hilarious, nerdy rap. I don't know how best to describe it, but it's 100% my vibe. If you're into like MC Chris, MC Lars, those kind of guys, 1000% up your alley. So as you know, if you've ever come to Frightreads since year one, and I can't even fault them for having a back injury and missing one of our years, but since year one, I'll even give them the credit, benefit of the doubt. Since year one, Things Forsaken has been a staple of Frightreads, and my favorite thing is to place them at the front because, and this comes from year one. When you walk into Frightreads, the first thing I want you to do is look over and see a bunch of baby doll heads, some creepy macabre props, and just some really weird stuff, and go, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. And that was something that one of the patrons had said year one, and I was like, I got to keep these guys near the door because this is the first impression, first and last thing that you see on the way out. So anytime I can do that at possible, I will. So tonight we're joined by Ference, who is one of the brainchilds of Things Forsaken. He is an actor, prop creator, and I believe the resume goes on and on and on. So now that I've given enough time and the video will be able to catch up to me, allow me to bring in Things Forsaken. Ference, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Harry, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you, man?
Tired. Dude, I today was one of those up days where you get everything done because you just have that, like, I don't know if it's the serotonin flowing, you're just having a good day. But man, I made a dump run, I cut the grass, I cleaned the basement. Behind me used to be a mountain of Frightread stuff. I got stuff done today, so I'm dead. I am legally dead right now.
Go you. That's great, man.
Oh me. Yeah. So as you probably heard in the introduction, year one, you guys and we talked about this what 2-3 years ago when we did these author talks back in the day, but stumbling upon us by happenstance, which I love that you guys, Ninth Life, Precious Moments, and others have just been since year one, and will continue to come back and continue to come back. And I think my favorite thing is seeing the familiar faces, and I get really sad when, if you were, when you had your injury and you guys weren't going to come out there.
Yeah.
No.
And in that year, man, I blew 2 discs out of my back, and I still walk with a cane. I'm still going through medical treatments all the time. Blah blah blah. But yeah, it was bad, and I tried to stick it out literally till the last second before I contacted you. I was like, Harry, I am so sorry, man. I pulled like a serious stupid human trick here.
Yeah.
And I'm getting too old for what I'm doing in some respects. And my back just looked at me one day. It's like, you know what, dude? You too.
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday. You held out to 3 that I know it was the week of, but I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday. You confirmed with me that you were out, but I think you had let me know 2-3 weeks early, like, hey, listen, it's not looking good, but I will I will let you know if I'm upright and able to come down. And I think it was Wednesday night. I got a message that's not looking good.
Yeah, it was. I was in pretty bad shape for quite a while and everything, and a lot of that's improved over the past couple of years. But again, I have treatments and go through medical stuff here every couple of few months still
Yeah.
because of it. So
Yeah.
the ragged
Such
is
is
getting
life.
old. Thank you, Mick.
I say, such is life. Everything's falling apart. See, what nobody realizes about me is I have a fractured hip, and apparently, well, I have a patellofemoral syndrome in my left leg. I was like, wait a minute, left, yeah, that side. Um, and what people don't realize is that's how I'm powering through the event. So when you see me doing like 100,000 laps, I am running off of pain reliever and adrenaline.
Dig it.
But I can tell you the second that I get home, it's just everything is just screaming. And I'm, especially when we do the 2-dayer, because that's a 3-dayer for me, maybe even a 4, because I got to go back on Monday and make sure everything gets picked up.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel you on the back thing, because you do these events, and I put on the one event, and usually if I go around on my book tour or anything, it's a box of a couple of books and a little book rack. You guys bring electric chairs and entire backdrops and tables full of just crap. I don't know what, like, you got skulls and candies and just there's just heavy boxes. We helped you pack up the other week.
Yeah, thank you
There's a
guys
ton
so
of stuff.
much. Yeah, thank you so much for helping out there because I'm very much in the slow lane these days when it comes to that, and um, especially with all the film work,
Yeah,
because of the web series. What we do with the web series, we create our products that we have through the web series. So every time I do another short film, here's an entire
here's a new prop.
another line of product, and so I have to produce that. I got to carry it around, and
Yep. Then
But you know what?
there's another trip to Home Depot to get a tote.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh, I should have stock in some of these places. It's
geez,
just
yeah, that's how I feel. We were next to each other with the merchandise booth, and we both had the same Home Depot totes, and I was like, "Yours or mine?"
right.
Yeah, so it gets really taxing. I see you guys go everywhere. I found you all over the place. I've seen you up at Creature Feature.
Yeah,
I've seen you set up every corner of this planet that I've attended. I've seen you there. So
yeah.
this stuff isn't light.
No,
It's
and then we
good
have
quality. It's heavy.
Yeah, and then we have the mainstream studio, which there is a certain amount of overlap after doing it so many years. But I
Yeah,
do try to keep it somewhat separate because of the nature of my clientele in the mainstream studio. But I'm a career carver in my studio and a stone carver primarily by trade. So I mean, any day of the week, you can walk into my shop where I'm making fetus skulls and everything
yeah.
for this line and everything. And I've got blocks of stone in there, marble and everything else being worked at ton and a half, ton and three-quarter blocks. And
Have you
so
tried styrofoam? It's much lighter.
I have worked with styrofoam and props, which is really interesting because with the stonework, we get invited to a lot of events,
Yeah,
and a lot of the events, depending on the nature of them, they want to see us demonstrate the stone carving. I did Renaissance festivals for decades,
I can
traveling
imagine.
around
Yeah,
doing stone carving, marble, granite carving, and it's interesting to see attendees walking by and looking at it and going, "Oh no, that's not stone. That's probably plaster or styrofoam."
yeah,
And it's kind of like, yeah, no, I wish it was. When the end of the
the
day
real
comes,
thing.
nope.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen, like I said, when year one, because I didn't know anything about you guys. Every vendor that applies, even today, and we're looking in the hundreds. That year one was like 20 some odd people at best on a good day. Um, we're looking at hundreds of vendors now, and I still do the same practice. I check out the website, I check out your Etsy, I check out your Instagram, your Twitter, whatever's provided, and see what you have. Are you who you say you are?
Right.
And I went to your website and stuff, and I was looking around, and I was like, this is some weird stuff. I'm in. I got to see this in person. And I think your description was handmade props and jalapeno chocolate.
Oh yeah, we have the chili chocolate. Well, the whole
Yeah,
chocolate
the
thing that
chili
we have
chocolate.
now. Um, I'm literally sitting in this office one day, and I'm going looking at all this stuff I have, and I go, something's missing. You should be able to eat this stuff. So that's when we said, you know what, we're going to
Yeah,
take some of the designs of this and start producing it in chocolate so you can eat these things.
yeah, yeah. And like I read that description, and I was like, that's a weird combo, but let's do it.
Yeah,
And I had one of the hot chocolates. Um, I remember people saying I didn't know they were spicy. That was my favorite thing. They're like, I didn't know they were going to be that spicy.
with the word chili right across the label.
The word chili right across it. They meant cold, right? Chili. It's a little chilly. Um, but I remember there was a couple that walked in. Now, year one was free. We were fresh off the pandemic. My whole goal was get outside and do something fun. Get outside and come back indoors and do something fun. So it was free that year. And there was a couple. I was just across the way from you guys on the other side of the doors. And they said, Oh, oh, this is where we're supposed to be. And they were looking at your whole display of just macabre, just gnarly looking stuff.
Yeah, I
And it's
remember that
abandoned too.
first year we had the dolls along
Yeah,
that part of the L. So when you're
yeah.
walking in, that's the first thing you see is all the
A
dolls
bunch
and a
of
lot of the
dolls and
skull
doll
stuff.
heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that. And since then, like I said, I have to put you guys at the front door because
Yay.
where else can I put you guys? What, put
No,
you in the
keep
right
us at the
corner
front door, dude. It's closer to the food trucks because you get some banging
next to
food trucks at your
next to
events.
that hot dog man? Man, shout out the Catalyst. Those
Right?
guys, they were. I remember getting that recommendation. Fat Chris, who I don't know if he's watching this or if he's doing some electrical work, but he said you got to talk to my buddy at Catalyst Hot Dogs. It's the best food you ever had. And I was like, it's a hot dog. And like he's just like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand it. Like
Yeah,
it's a
because
hot
they're
dog.
happening, man.
Man,
Happening.
I bit into that hot dog after about halfway through the day. I went out and I think I got Sean Whalen and the gang. I bought them lunch and I said, I can DoorDash or whatever y'all want, but do you want the hot dog man? I was like, it's the best hot dogs on the planet, so I'm told. And I was like, if you don't think so, you can talk to Chris back there and he'll let him have it. So we went out there and did that. I gave my wife one half because it was a meal combo. You got two dogs, a bag of chips, and a soda or something. And I bit into that. And there was like fireworks. I think I think music started to play. And I was just like, okay, this is actually a really good hot dog.
Right, starting to smell numbers and stuff, right?
Oh man, yeah, but it was good. So yeah, I liked having that. And this year, I'm trying to work it out because the fairgrounds actually has their own food services.
Hmm.
They have their own concessions. I think they do like hot dogs, chicken tenders, usual concession stand fare. I'm trying to see if they'll play nice with the hot dog man because I told him, I said the problem is hot dog man got a line. He got a line that never ended. We
Right,
were looking at 5:45, almost quitting time, and that line hadn't stopped.
right.
There were people ready to pack up their tables out there in line to get a snack for the way home. Why wouldn't you guys open up and have your concession stand and have the hot dog guy? I guarantee you,
Right.
people will go to both. But
Yeah.
that's for them to figure out. But I do my best to try to get some good food.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man. Every Frightreads halfway, every place that you've done an event, it's kind of like, oh my god, I'm going to gain weight before I leave here.
yeah. The fudge ladies usually where they get me the Hun style sweets.
Yeah, I hit her up right before we left. Yeah, I did.
Yep, I am. I think I'm on the third box. I've already gone through orange creamsicle. I'm maybe one more bite through cookies and cream,
Dig it.
and then some kind of peanut butter something or another. I don't
I
know.
got the last ever pistachio.
Oh, pistachio is a good one. Now the creamsicle one's really good. If you
Yeah.
ever get a chance to grab that one, if you like orange creamsicle ice cream, it's it's ice cream except in fudge form.
Okay, I might have to get involved with that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So because I felt bad for so long, um, you gave me a movie to
Hmm.
watch at Creature Feature,
Oh yeah, right, right.
and I think I have just been just nonstop go 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 go. And you messaged me, did you get to watch the movie? And I said, man, I'm probably gonna have to watch that before we talk today. I think today's the day. So while I'm running around, I'm going to the dump, I'm cutting my grass, I'm organizing Frightreads stuff. I was actually sorting the shirts out and put the movie on. I don't have a DVD player or Blu-ray anymore. I have an
Oh,
Xbox and a PlayStation. So I threw it in the Xbox. Uh, the video quality just was messed up.
on
And
the Xbox.
I was like, huh. Well, I got a PlayStation. You know, they're the ones that did this, the DVDs. You know,
Hmm.
it's their brainchild. The better work. So threw it in the PlayStation, worked just fine because the audio wasn't synced up. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So unfortunately, I guess I had to listen to the opening song twice. That's about as far as I got. Was the opening
Oh, okay.
scene? The French lady at the bar started to talk, but she wasn't talking. She was just going,
That's
and then
really weird.
about 30 seconds later, she was like, "Ah, hello." And I was like, "Oh, there she is." Okay, so the Xbox is messed up. Let's pop over. Got to listen to the opening song again. Um, it's I was like, "Oh, it's not bad." I mean, there are worse things to sit through. This is a pretty good song. Um, went through that, heard the dialogue matched up with the people now, and I said, "Okay, okay." And it opens up, and you're at a bar. I'm
Yeah.
looking at you, and I was like, "Hey, I know that guy." Now it takes place in France.
New Orleans.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So I was like, it was French. I was getting the French
Yeah.
because I was like, is this French? What's going on? But it takes place in New Orleans, and there's a bunch of French being there's some French in there, but everybody has an accent at least
Right.
to an extent, except for the guy from New York City.
Yeah, actually, he that's Robert Dean who plays the gentleman, the historian doctor
Yeah,
who comes in and he kind of narrates and the story, which is triggering my character to see all these things. Faces of the Undead.
there it is.
There it
There
is.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
probably mirrored, but there you go. It says
yeah.
Faces of the Undead.
The song that you hear in the very beginning, Evermore, was written by my son in his
Yeah,
room one night. Um, the reason for the type of the quality of that recording, that is literally the recording he made that night. It's not a studio recording, uh, and I didn't want to change it because it is very raw.
it's so pure. Yeah,
It is. It's very raw, lyrically, musically, emotionally, and I didn't
yeah,
want to change that whatsoever. Faces of the Undead is a it's a double lane road. You watch it in the right lane, and you have this kind of fun, crazy, disjointed, little confusing horror flick.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you watch it in the left lane, and really you start paying attention to the dialogue, what's happening, who the characters are. Our cast are playing dual roles,
I noticed that
same cast.
because
Um,
at first I was like, "Come on, guys, hire some more people." And then by the I think it was the third person that popped up again, you know, the same actor or actress again. I was like, "Oh, this is on purpose."
yeah,
Okay, okay, okay. There's a overlap in the story.
right. What
Um,
I've never seen done, the way that we approached it, most of the time when you are conveying anything that has to do with mental health conditions, um,
yeah,
resultive conditions, psychologically through addiction, what have you, it's very much approached in horror as somebody, quote unquote, like kirking out, snapping, going crazy, just demolishing
well, yeah.
everything, and then you have some kind of ending resolution to it. We wanted to approach the mental health struggle of my character and also the character that Chloe Stewart plays, the bartender who is also the young lady in the brothel.
Yes.
Of going through these struggles of not being able to define what is real and what is not.
And
Because that's the
that
real
was,
horror, man, when you're living that stuff, you know. And Faces of the Undead actually has kind of a dual connotation, even in the title.
yeah,
In certain conditions, you're alive physically, you're walking around, you're existing, so to speak, in life, but you're dead inside and you want to give up. And so you can take the log line that we have. Um, you thought death would release you. It is never all. You were wrong. It's never all over.
you thought death would release you. You were wrong.
You were wrong. And at the end, you hear Jessie Gill, who plays Lady Desiree as the voodoo priestess, but also
Yeah.
as the doctor in the
She was
end.
the doctor. Yeah. Cause that was, I think, because I'm kind of stupid. And that was when I drew the connection. I was like, okay.
And
So
that's
there,
good because we really don't want you. We want to have the viewer in the same POV as the character I play,
okay.
because you watch the movie the entire time and you're being told this is what's happening. You go, oh, it's in his head. Then you go, oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. It's really happening. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. And that puts the viewer, hopefully, we've conveyed in the POV, the point of view as the character I play, who can't tell what's real and what isn't.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping to actually convey that feeling to the viewer a little bit and put them in his position.
Yeah. And that it was interesting. I kind of, so I would have to say, like, you're in a position following the main character more or less. You do have some sidebars with some other characters that do a lot of support with Nancy. You had Nancy Ann Ritter in there.
Who I met at the first halfway to Halloween.
Yeah, yeah, and you had her in there, and I was like, hey, I know that face.
Yeah.
And you gave her some good dialogue, which was fun.
You know, one of the things that I do when I write, one of the things I do when I write, and I really like to work with the people that I cast, is I like to give them basic dialogue and give them context. And there's certain things, of course, that need to be delivered word for word because they have connection
Yeah,
to or fro. As long as they stay within the context, except for those exceptions, I say, here's your character synopsis. Here it is. This is what we're doing and everything. I want to see how you approach this. Who do you create?
yeah.
Some people
You
don't want to
created
work
somebody.
that way. I enjoy working that way because otherwise I'm going to
Yeah.
dress up like every character and play it myself exactly as written. But these are actors and actresses, and they're all very talented people.
Yeah.
And I want them to be able to shine and bring their own personality and creation into it. And then we dial things in. We stay within parameters, of course. But it's kind of like when you're writing literature, you know, there's a part of that process, and correct me if I'm wrong, that where you reach a point here and there to where you're almost outside of it and you get a chance to see what's going to happen, you know?
And well, that usually comes into play. Now, there's two different kinds of writers. You have a planner, and that person has that Charlie Day board where he's got strings going to everything. Every chapter is mapped out. He's got to do this by chapter 1. Chapter 2, these characters do this, and everything is mapped out. And there isn't too much room for error because you know exactly where you're going from point A to point B. I, on the other hand, am the other category, what they call as a pantser. You write by the seat of your pants. You have a general idea. You go, all right, so this book is about this. I know the main characters are going to be, you know, A, B, and C, and I need to get to this end point. And then you just start to type, and then before you know it, you'll either you might come up with a scene along the way, and you'll go, ooh, I need to do this at some point. Where can I have that in there?
Right.
And then you have this in the back of your mind, and then when you build up to that moment, you go, ooh, this is that time. Let me pull that out of the filing cabinet and put that in here. But usually, if as long as you're not a planner, a lot of times your story can surprise you, and you go,
Yeah.
especially when you kill off a character. That's usually when it's like, huh, well, I guess they do have to die. I mean, and then you kind of read back again and you go, yeah, yeah, I guess that's that. I guess they got to go.
Yeah, for me, I learned a long time ago about myself. I follow certain processes and different processes sequentially, and I can do that. But more so the way that my brain works, what have you, I am a
Yeah.
random learner. So you can
Okay.
throw me a bucket full of whatever and I figure it out. That's just how my brain works, as opposed to everything step one, step two, step three, and I can
So
do
you're
that
not a planner. You're a MacGyver. That's what it is. Give
kind of
you
sort
give
of.
you
Yeah.
put something
Um,
in front of you, and you will figure it out.
yeah. One of the things, I approach Faces of the Undead film very much the way that I do the shorts for the web series, because the shorts for the web series are really two entirely different types of film. There's the
Yeah.
build aspect, the crafting aspect, and the story. So
Yeah.
with the web series, I go 10 highlights of build, 10 highlights of storyline, and then I figure out how to stitch those together cohesively. So with Faces, I had some of the cast originally ask me, "Well, can I read the script?" I said, "If you can read the script, that'd be great, because there isn't one yet. I write as I go." Now, I write scenes, I write certain sections, I write a certain amount. We've actually just recently, I decided to make some major changes to the film. Um, when we originally shot Faces, it took about 9 months from the very first shoot to being aired in theater
Okay.
on screen. Um, we shot
So
all of
so
some
this
of
was
the
9 months.
yep, 9 months from the first shoot. You
Yeah.
know, if you want to go back to what was rolling around in here, yeah, who can tell you how long that adds?
It's
Um,
wild if you say 9 months for the actual production, not
yeah,
including the brainstorming and writing time
yeah,
for
yeah. But
what 20
nine
twenty
months
five
from the
minutes of
first
work.
shoot.
People don't
Um,
understand. It's for a half hour worth of work. You're in there for a year and a half. So
sometimes,
think
yeah,
about that when you're wondering why you only got 6 episodes of your favorite TV show, and they have to go back behind the scenes and work on it again, and you
right.
binge watch it in what, 3 hours?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
It all
process.
dials down small.
No, Jenny said that she's a hybrid of those two, so she plans some things and wings it on the other half.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a lot like that for me, and with Faces, there's a lot of planning, of course, that goes into the certain things. But one of the things that I don't do is write or back myself into a corner. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, and if I'm writing full scripts or you're setting all this up, and every shoot's a battle plan that you throw out as soon as you get on set. Things change. A lot of things change,
Oh
you
yeah,
know. But what we did is we shot a lot of the big outdoor stuff first for all three parts of the anthology. So there's some of the part two and part three in the can. What I literally just decided, what was it, yesterday or day before, something like that, that we're going to pull it into two parts, one and
okay.
two, and take both of those stories we shot that I've been working on and pull them both into part two. Um, I sent you, I think, on Messenger a 1 minute little teaser for
Yeah,
part
yeah.
two. Um, that is why I'm doing this. A big reason I'm doing this, because I was inspired. I have a chronic eye condition, and I have to have treatments on my eyes every few months, and I don't know how many different eye drops and blah blah blah. But what they did, and I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but what they had me, one of the things I'm on with now, there's two names for it. One is called serum tears. The other is
Okay.
called blood tears, because as you saw in that little teaser, they literally make these out of my blood
Huh.
and their eye drops. And as soon as they told me that's what they were going to do, I was like, ka-ching, I have a ticket to change the train track anywhere I want to go now. And so
Yeah.
we're reconfiguring a lot of that, and the way that everything will be connected, the different stories, the characters. I'll give you another quick little spoiler. We are bringing back all the same cast from part one, because
So kind of like American Horror Story. They bring
kind
back
of,
the
yeah,
same people in a way, but they play different people,
they're
or
playing
are they going
they're
to play?
playing
They're just playing
similar
different.
characters.
Okay.
And I don't want to give away too much, because at the end of the entire thing, it will clarify why all these actors and actresses have been repeating the same, on screen and playing different roles.
Yeah, they have a reason for their loop.
Hmm.
Okay.
Very, very
Yeah,
much so.
because I watched it, and my wife came home, and I said, "Yeah, I watched the Things Forsaken movie," and she said, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "I don't know what the hell I just watched. I'm gonna rewatch it a couple of times, but
It's a little disjointed. It's a little out there. It's a little all over the place, and
it's
that
not a
is
one watcher. You can't just it's
no.
it's one of those things where if you've ever had to watch a movie and you see it in the theaters or what have you, and you see it the one time, but then you watch it when it comes on streaming or you buy the movie, and then you go, "Oh, there's I didn't notice that," and then you
I,
rewatch it, and then you rewatch it, and then you rewatch it. You this is one of those movies you're going to constantly pull something new out.
yes,
Um, yeah, it's
there is a lot of there are a lot of what some people will call golden eggs, and a lot of subtleties that we tie things together.
yeah.
Um, if you notice in that very opening scene,
Hmm.
um, where you see the bar glass come up, the
Yeah, the
profile,
bar with
and you
the
see the
cup.
waiter leaning over, and we do that little double take. When you watch
Yeah.
it again, look real close right here on him. That
Okay.
scar he has running across here, and then watch that little teaser I sent you for part two again. That
So
is
it'll
the same
it'll
person.
carry over.
It's the same
Things
person.
will.
So when you
Okay.
see that the face skin removed from a character in part two, it's the same person playing that has that scar in one.
Okay.
When you notice Chloe Stewart, who played the bartender and also played Vera, the first thing that she says to my character, "Are you here for business or pleasure?"
With pleasure.
Which
Yeah.
she says to the necromancer later, when
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
trying to when she's in the mindset of trying to be the predator. Um, and also she notes to him, she goes, "Oh, I know you. You're staying in the parlor." That's
Yeah.
the first place that she sees the necromancer, is in that parlor area.
Okay. So
So there's a
everything
lot
is
of
kind
these
of
little things that are tying stuff together.
you kind of got a Pulp Fiction thing going on. You got stuff happening before, after, during. The
Yeah.
timeline is jumbled, and you're gonna have to rewatch this a handful of times,
You're riding a spider who is running around on a very tight woven web.
and probably also on fire.
Probably, yeah.
So
Um,
Jenny says, Memento was one of those types of movies. Yeah. There's a couple of movies out there that you have to do a handful of rewatches
mhm.
to grab everything that they're. Some of these movies are just over the top, and they probably have a script writing team and a bunch of people to make sure that all of these things line up. Meanwhile, you're over here just winging it, and these things are lining up and making sense. Eventually, they make sense. At
Yeah,
first, you're just kind of, huh?
right.
And
Which is
then, yeah,
exactly where we want you.
Yeah.
because we want you to experience that disjointed confusion that my character is in, because that's really the underlying message for the entire film.
It is confusing. That was your goal, was to have you kind of just like the movie ends, the credits roll, and you just go, the hell did I just watch? And if I had more time, I would have literally just went, okay, DVD menu, let's go back in, because I must have missed something.
Right.
So I have two main points that I want to talk about from the movie. The first one, we'll start a little lighter. The soundtrack.
Mm.
The soundtrack. You guys did the entire score, and obviously you said your son fiddled with that song by himself in his room, and it made the cut. But the
Um,
rest of the score, there was I think it's the bar scene. There's like some jazzy music, a little bit of like saxophone or trumpet or something happening.
yeah, and going back to my son's song, he didn't write that for the movie.
No,
Um,
he just
my
put that
son
out for
is
the
one, and I'm not going to give TMI, but the lyrics to that song, and he wrote that in his room one night. And when he played that for me the first time, and I heard it, it messed me up pretty bad.
yeah.
It was not written for this film at all. I'll just leave that at that.
Yeah, the
But it
lyrics
fit
are,
so
because I got to
perfect.
hear it twice in a row. Um,
Yeah.
I got to
But
hear
I
the lyrics.
asked him
They're
if he
kind of
was
heavy.
okay with us using it in the film. Um, the entire soundtrack, I did a lot of the background sound music, all the special effects. Um, I wrote and performed the guitar piece that you hear when the
Okay.
necromancer comes up to Vera on the street, that real tinkly kind of creepy thing.
Yep.
I worked with my son and Sean Sokolowski and Daniel Lee, and also um, Baltimore. God, what's his last name now? Mark. I can't even think of his last name at the moment. I'm fried. Um, but Tristan and I, my son, kind of wrote the basic bare bone piano thing,
Yeah.
and then I dialed it in a lot more, and I turned it over to Sean Sokolowski, who plays the waiter, that waiter.
Okay.
Um, and he laid down piano tracks. So all that lounge music you hear at the bar,
Yeah.
Sean, all the jazz music, Sean really, I mean, he just killed it, dialing it in what I wanted to do with it and everything,
Yeah.
and getting the recording of the instruments, the piano. Um, Daniel Lee, my main trumpet player, he man, he sent me back the trumpet track. I got on the phone with him and and did all that foolishness with him, and he sent me back tracks that he laid in, and it was just, man, it's so sweet, my teeth hurt. So I am beside myself. Um, my wonderful girl Liz Brewster, she's doing all the cello work. So yeah, I am just beside myself. They killed it, man. As far as I was so happy with it.
And that's what I like is, so it's a good score can make or break a movie.
Yeah,
And it's really unique that you have it's so diverse. You didn't just use, a keyboard and synthesize a couple of noises. It's live music. You have brass instruments, there's piano, there's
yeah,
guitars, and obviously, and then the opening song. Like I said, the opening song was, I got to listen to it twice. It's heavy.
it is heavy, man.
I it's a heavy song to start with. That's almost the song that, after your hero crawls out of the rubble and looks up into the sky for the next fight, that's the song that plays.
Yeah,
Something that's just like, ooh.
yeah,
But you guys come out of the gate with that, and then you hit us with some good lounge music, and then there's some jazzy tunes.
yeah,
Um, and I did see when the credits went by, you had a bunch of people that were all over the place with instruments, and
yeah.
it's unique to do that, as opposed to,
Mark Kelly, that's my
there
other
it is,
trumpet player. For some reason I
there
couldn't
he
think of his
is.
last name. Sorry about that, Mark. But yeah, I mean, it's like You know, a lot of the music is synthesized. The
Yeah.
trumpets are live. The guitar, acoustic guitar stuff is live. The cello is you know, it's live.
Well, I know you guys have the cello because I've seen that. I've seen that in in action.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In some of the web series, we actually
Yeah.
have some of the pieces in there for the music that we did for those, and yeah. So I mean, it's a conglomerate of a lot of
Yeah.
things, and you know, we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be scoring the second part as well with everything, and
That's cool.
really looking forward because I love working on music. Filmmaking for me, for what we're doing, a
Yeah.
large part of it is me personally, I just have that curse that I want to keep creating things. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
but you also have to produce that
anything's a
thing too.
medium for me, and I want to create. But I have a background. I made my contribution as part of the reason some people are glad the '80s are over. That's what I did. I was a front man for rock bands back in the '80s. We were signed back then. Um, so the artworks, the creating the props, things like that, creating the sets, the cinematography, the music. I just get to do all the things I love to create with all in one basket.
Wow.
So, you know,
Because that's because one of the authors that I had on here a few weeks ago, J.A. Barrios, he's a music guy too. And how are you a music guy in the book industry? That's how do I have a bunch of pieces of paper bound together other than telling a story about music? What do I do? So his audiobook actually features him and one of his old bandmates, and
oh,
their
that's cool.
transitional music. Every time that they transition to a new chapter or a new section, there's a depending on, and I've noticed the pattern. If they transition to a section, it's just the guitar, and if it transitions a new chapter, there's the guitar and the bass line going at the same time. So it's almost like you can keep track of where you're at in the story because you have this guitar that's just kind of, and it's just two notes, and the bass line is just really simple. It's just a running bass line, just a ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum, and then you have this guitar that's like bow now.
Right.
But it's something that doesn't get offered in most audiobooks.
Yeah,
Um,
you know, that's
yeah,
gorgeous. I know when I read literature, um, I assign a personality sounding voice to the characters I read. When
yeah,
I'm if I'm reading about vampires in Hungary, I'm hearing that music of that ethnicity,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
of that period in a timepiece. So yeah, you know, it's wonderful when you can figure out a way to be able to present that as well,
pulling all of
especially
your
with
world
written
together.
word, you know?
Yeah, it's hard because
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say I actually cleaned up behind me, but there's like three guitar cases and all that stuff behind me too. Um, I never even thought to do that. Like I can produce my own noise for an audiobook and people will have to listen to it. Like I hear like the opening audible noises or something. Some books start off with some noise. They might play a little jingle or something, and then the book goes on. But um, this one just has like this vibe every single transition, and it's
Dig.
wild.
That's cool. That's
I
cool.
never thought to do that. I was like, oh, I can just you know bombard people with all of these different facets. Never thought of that.
Yeah.
But Kim says the urge to create is a curse and a gift. I think that sums you up in a nutshell. It is a blessing and a curse for sure.
And it's not either one usually on the same day.
Oh yeah. Let's see. You got a couple of comments in here. Scar put some horns up, and then we got Jenny agreeing with Kim. Yeah, that's it is the urge to create. The problem is that it's like with anything. You need the time, energy, and the idea, but you need them all in the same place. You can have an idea, but no time to deal with it.
Yeah.
Or you can have all the time in the world and have this great idea, but you're just like, God, I just don't feel like sitting down and hammering this out. So
yeah,
it's just this perpetual thing. But man, when those moon and stars align, you get some wild stuff.
I get quite a few people ask sometimes about things um, like writer's block, or
Oh man.
creative block, or artist's block, whichever
Yeah.
avenue that they
Whatever
travel on.
flavor. Yeah.
And I tell them, I said, I don't believe in that.
Me
I
neither.
really don't. Do I get to points in certain things to where I'm just like, ugh? Yes, I do. To me, what that is creative block. I don't assign it to writing, filmmaking, music producing. I don't assign a label in an avenue.
Yeah.
To me, what that does is tells me that my creative part, which is the part that I need to release, that's why it's, the curse part of it, right?
Yeah.
You can't take it. You got to keep doing this and coming up with all this crazy business. So what I do is I step away from what I'm doing and I go, what's in the fridge? Let me see what
Yeah.
I can make out of this. And what I do is I put myself in a different situation to create something. And what that does is it relieves any of the pressure that I feel that I put on myself of going, I can't write this piece of music, but this is what I'm focused on. I need to do this. I need to do this. And when I start
Yeah.
getting into the need and the want is not an action word.
Yeah.
It is a descriptor, you know? So it kind of backtracks me and takes me off of that line of having to. And then I just do something that, okay, so if this tastes like crap that I'm making the stuff out of the fridge, big deal. What's the risk here? You know,
Yeah.
what's this? But I got myself into a positive creating motion again. And usually by that time, it's like I'm playing with food or doing something like this, and I can go, I'm hearing music in my head. And it's
Yep.
just flowing because I'm not working on it. And it's like, bang, that's the change for the piece that I couldn't come up with.
And
There
it's
you go.
wild because anytime I'm on a panel, I always get the how do you deal with writer's block? And I go, there's no such thing. There is no such thing. I've never just been like, I don't know what to write. Like they do in the movies, when they always have there's God, the 80s were 80s and early 90s were notorious for having a writer as the main character.
Mm,
That all they had to do was just, publish a book and they were on their book tour and making millions because that's how it works. Gotta love Hollywood. But
right.
but you would see them and they would just be staring at the typewriter, the keyboard, what have you, insert time here whenever it was supposed to be, and they just can't come up with anything, or they're just hung up on a word. Like Throw Mama from the Train. It's a prime example. The guy has no idea what he wants to write, and he says it was a blank night. And he's like, it was a moist night. It was a humid night. It was a dude, you're hung up on how the night was. What is your story about? That is something you do on round two. And I love that they make that to be what writer's block looks like.
Hmm.
Writer's block is when you've just like you said, you've just exhausted yourself
I got
and
nothing.
you just need to get up and go somewhere. Go for a walk. Go to the mall. Go to Walmart. I don't know. Go buy a hammer from Lowe's. Go get out of the house. Get some air. Go stand on the back porch and have a coffee. Literally anything. Go watch a TV show. Anything to break up that cycle. And
Right.
you'd be surprised how quickly that idea will come to you.
Yeah.
I've had the idea come to me on the way back home from shopping. I've just been like, got it. That's what he needs to do. That's what he needs to do. I got it. That's how I'm going to put that in there.
We shot, like I said, we shot a lot of the stuff that was both in part 1, 2, and 3 originally, first.
Yeah.
And two of those things, the one that goes into the part two and the part three that now we brought both into, are so disconnected. You go, what in God's name does that have to do with this? So now that we get the idea to bring things together in that, and then I can sit here and go, all right, well, this has nothing to do with that. How in God's name am I going to stitch this together to make sense? Right?
Yeah.
And I can beat my head in the wall. I can come up with a million different avenues and see if this works or that works. When you watched Faces, in the very opening thing, you see a Things Forsaken production, and you see my little mascot Melancholia,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the first thing that you see that happens is that bloody tear comes out.
Bloody comes out, yeah. And that ties into the your bloody tears or whatever, right?
Which I did not even know about at that time. I
It
didn't
just
know about
happened to
blood
be.
tears until just recently. And so it's like when when you remove that when you remove a certain amount of things from myself, what I try to recognize, I don't want to say I've learned to do or any of that kind of hoo-ha, but what I've become to recognize in the way that I do things is how to turn obstacles into vehicles instead of
Yeah,
trying to beat my head through them, climb over them, go under them, or go around them. I hop onto them so I can hit the gas.
yeah,
And it seems to, for me, it seems to work.
yeah. And Jenny even says, there's no such thing as writer's block. I guess her struggle is to stay on track because of a million and one stories in your head, and they all want to come out and be written today, which is the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
That is
I already
definitely a
have an
problem.
entire another movie rolling around in my head, and I'm not even done with
You're
this
not
one.
even done this one, yeah,
No.
yeah. That's really how it works because I've been, and it works for writing, it works for movie making, it works for songs. You could be
Yeah.
halfway into a song and go, "Oh, I have the hook for the next song."
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, as a creative, if you're not all over the place, you're not creative.
Yeah.
Because if
There's
you're not as disjointed as you could be in your creative process, you should strive to be more disjointed.
Yeah, some of the music that I wrote, and that I did some of the guitar stuff and the arrangements to that in that one section, was written for something totally different. And
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's like you get a line that you're writing, or a scenario you're writing in one of your stories, and go, yeah, that God, this is one that's like this is one that I like. I want to hold on to, but it doesn't fit what I'm doing right now. So
yeah.
let's put it in the can, and at some point we can use it in something else.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't like doing that. I like to put it in the can and just wait for it to go. Okay, you know what? This round peg that I wrote that didn't fit all this stuff, all of a sudden there's a round hole right here. you know?
Yeah. And that's how it works out sometimes. And it's fun when it happens that way because then you're
Yeah.
like, cool, I didn't waste it because that was a good idea. It just wasn't the right idea.
Yeah. And I can save it for something else later.
Yeah,
Who knows if I'm going to get to it?
yeah, but you
Who
never
knows
know. Look,
whatever's going to happen in life?
dude, my phone is riddled with jotted down notes of story ideas, and maybe an eighth of those have actually seen the light of day.
Yeah.
They have become short stories or a quote that I heard or a quip or somebody said
Right.
something stupid around me. And I would just go, "Nah, that's got to go in a book somewhere." And
right.
somebody like, I mean, prime example, my uncle said, he looked at me with the straightest face and he said, well, I was telling him about my one of my book ideas that I'm mostly done written, where gravity just goes away. Like over time, it gradually just dissipates and we just kind of float off and disappear. And he looked at me and he said, well, this always happens. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, well, back when that's how do you think the dinosaurs got so big? There was less gravity. And I looked at him and I said, you're screwing with me, aren't you? You can't be serious right now. And I pulled out my phone. He said, what are you doing? And I said, never say anything fun around an author. because they're going to use it. And I think the father-in-law character says that the very thing that he said to me, because I said, you can't be that stupid.
Mhm.
There is no way, because the gravity was less. That's how dinosaurs got so big.
Wow.
And I said, that's it, but that's how the creative process works. When something's there, you need to capture it and use it
Yeah.
or hang on to it for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Um, so I figured the soundtrack would be a good light one, but we'll end on a weird note. I think that's where we're going to go.
All
So
right.
some of the effects, I'm
Mm.
going to even go so far to say maybe stunts. Um, so you have people that are biting people's necks. Spoiler: I think there are some vampires possibly in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe. So there's that. There's um, there's a particular scene when the character that you're playing is having his, like, I'm going to say, the bleed over, because there was like a voodoo priestess
The
doing some things.
transformation.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a little bit of bleed over in the world, and he was transforming. Um, so you're getting like this kind of overlay for a bit, then it flicks over to what's actually happening on the other half of
Mhm.
the screen. Um, there were some hooks involved. Was that a practical effect, or did you
That was not an effect.
that was you hanging in there and
I spent, I have to recall, I spent roughly probably 9, 10 hours in the hooks
oof.
that day in that shoot.
Yeah, it looked, as I say, this is I saw the scene and I was like, whoof, that's not a special effect. I think he's
No,
just hanging in there.
no, that is not a special effect. No, no, we did that. If you look at the end credits, you'll see that we did credit excuse me, Gordon Staub and Time Bomb Tattoo. Gordon was my piercer.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw the credits. That's how I was able to kind of figure that out. But just seeing that scene the first time, like, if you see it, you're like, yeah, this isn't a CGI, this isn't a special effect. This is a practical, real.
Yeah.
You have hooks going through you, and you're just kind of hanging in there.
The only
Um,
um the only special effect in that entire segment of that transformation is when you first see the cadaver, myself laying in the morgue, and you see the hook shoot down onto him.
yeah.
Because
Okay.
nobody stood by and shot the things into the chest.
Oh
They were
God. Come on.
they were
Come on.
placed.
We're looking for realism. Come on. You don't want to
um,
get harpooned for your stardom. Come on.
you're right. Um, yeah, the hooks don't work that way.
No, they didn't.
So that that seeing them fly down onto the chest was, of course, it was a reverse shot.
Okay.
We used magnet. I made prosthetics with magnets inside, and we laid them there, positioned them just enough tension on the line so the way they sit this way, yanked them off, and then
Pulling right
reverse
out.
shot. Reversed it. Also, when you see uh, Robert Dean playing the doctor in the morgue,
Yes.
and you see him do the scalpel cut on
Okay.
the
Yeah.
chest, and he opens up, and you see it starting to bleed.
Hmm.
Um, that as well was a special effect. Obviously, he didn't cut me. He did use a real scalpel, and he did cut. But what he cut was a silicone prosthetic of this
Okay.
part of my chest with a metal plate in it, and um, a blood gap
Like a blood
inside, so
pack.
it's
Yeah.
filled with blood. So he literally could take that number 11 scalpel and literally do a cut.
Huh. That's always fun because there were a couple of scenes. Like I said, I was folding shirts and organizing stuff, but I stopped for a few scenes and kind of just stared and went, huh. And that those were a few of the scenes. So some of these effects, if you're watching this, um, you need to find these guys at whatever the next event is, even if it's Fright Reads this September, and you need to grab a copy of Faces of the Undead. And you're working on part 2 and 3, which is now just 2.
Right.
Um, what is your what is your hit date for that? Are you looking at this
Uh,
year or next year?
I would love to have that out by Halloween.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. I'm still in a lot of the conceptual stages. Sean Sokolowski, who plays a main character into, played the waiter.
yeah,
Also very, very involved in the music production
yeah,
and writing. Sean literally just got back from Morocco. Everybody's all over the place, got things
yeah.
going on. So I have to see how much we can herd the cats and be able to schedule the shoots. The
Oh
other
yeah,
part of it is we do have a crowdfunder, um, and that is we are we are self funded. We do not have investors. We do not have outside funding. We do have a crowdfunder started, um, and we're hoping to get more traction with that and get some more support. And we
yeah,
dearly
yeah.
appreciate all the support that people have given us. But there's that concern as well. By industry standards, we're considered a no budget film. Like literally, that would be the level
Okay.
we're at. We're under micro budget. Um, no budget. Yeah, I'd like for somebody to explain the word no to my bank account.
Yeah.
Because
Well, well,
I'm not
you look
jogging.
at it. You look at it, and some of the best films that have you know existed in the past 30, 40 years have been the no budget films,
No.
which are extremely low. Like, I mean, pretty much anything early Kevin Smith. Look at Clerks 1. That guy filmed it in the store he worked in.
Yeah.
And when they could close the doors, they would start filming. And
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff was guerrilla filming. They didn't have permits, they
Yeah.
didn't have rights. They just kind of showed up, filmed what they needed to do, hopped in the car, and got the hell out of there.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So,
I'm beside myself with the talent and the dedication of the cast and the crew that we've been fortunate enough to work with for part one and coming into part two.
yeah,
Most of that film was shot in pretty much three locations altogether. No, two locations really. One here at my studio in part. Um, but the entire club, the cask and coffin, and everything contained with that was shot at a Mother's Rest, and that's a mothersrest.org. I'm going to plug them here, Harry. It's a
do it.
wonderful thing. It is a respite center. It's a historic building
Okay.
in Newmarket, Maryland, and it's a respite center for parents with special needs children. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. My wife is the innkeeper, and we were fortunate enough to be able to work out with the owners to be able to
Yeah.
shoot there. So,
Well, that's
um,
always good to have connections with stuff like that. And it's a good cause. Yeah, I mean, definitely plug away. If there's something out there that's got a worthy cause, I'm all about that. We have the Heroes Initiative that we support. We have Hunters Against Hate.
yeah,
Any of that stuff. Obviously, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's our big dog that we run with. So all of that's in the same wheelhouse. So if you
and
have,
you can see, you can see in the messages, the beginning, the written statement in the very beginning of Faces of the Undead, and then you see that short statement at the end. You
yeah,
know, for all those who exist, who in between. Who for those with the turmoil of existing in between, and that's really what it's about because we have literally lost loved ones that listen to that voice.
yeah.
And so when
Oh,
you
I'm
hear,
there with you.
especially at the end, when Jesse Gill looks down and says, "It is never all over," again, you can take that as a line in a horror movie and run with it, and we do. But there is a whole nother meaning to that statement.
It's a
Not over.
multi-layered
Don't give
statement.
up. That's not the answer. Please don't.
Yeah, but it's one of those multiple meaning lines, and it's a hell of a high note to leave on, where it's a powerful line of dialogue. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna have to sit down and rewatch it a handful more times. So I'm gonna have more questions in September. And then I'll probably have to do a rewatch before two, because otherwise I'll be completely lost and forget what the heck I saw. So you know how that works. But
Well,
yeah,
if
it's
you go to the crowdfunder, we're constantly updating the crowdfunder with new teasers, trailers, what have you. Um, new information and synopsis, and you'll see that it picks up for part two. And I can't remember word for word, but with the context of now the character I play is in a facility getting some treatments, getting some help. But now again, are these treatments and what they're doing with him, are these even more of a reason to amplify this condition? Or is
Yeah.
there something darker going on here? So we're going to leave you with that once again, you know.
Well, we got one last comment before we go. Scar is going to definitely pick a copy of this up in September. I
Yeah,
definitely
what we
recommend it.
have, we should have these out since part one is roughly 34 minutes and change with
Yeah.
credits.
Say it's
Uh,
about a half hour. Yeah.
yeah, the Blu-ray and the DVDs that we have, and they're on the crowdfunder site as part of the perks. And we're going to start. We'll have them by September. Um, is going to include cast interviews, behind the scenes
Ooh,
footage, commentary, and things like that, so that you get a full hour's content, and you're getting a limited edition exclusive of some stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else.
nice.
And a lot of the stuff that the cast has to say about their roles in the film itself.
And that's always fun. Two of my favorite things. I like to see the making of special effects and the outtakes.
Mm,
Outtakes are my favorite thing to watch, especially when it's like a really just visceral film and it's just gnarly and just nasty special effects. And then you got somebody that's, Jason Voorhees just laughing, having
right.
a good time because something went wrong, or,
Yeah.
that's the stuff that I enjoy because it
And,
breaks up that reality and you go, oh,
yeah.
okay. Well,
And being low budget per se, a lot of that kind of stuff is one take, because
mhm,
we don't have the, resources to make
yeah,
4 copies of this chess piece. We got
yeah.
one shot at it.
You got
Um,
one try and better get it right.
yeah,
Mhm.
unless I'm gonna turn myself into a bass in a pond, I'm not gonna do this 20 times over and over. We're gonna put them in once, we're gonna shoot everything, then we're gonna take them out.
Yeah, yeah, that's all you can do. But sounds like a couple of people are going to come out and grab a copy of the film.
Awesome,
Um,
great.
I think we're trying to sort out. The problem is that we don't have an isolated room for theater, and that's kind of what you need for some of this stuff to show your guys' stuff. Shriek Show and
Mm.
Blood and Breakfast and all these other films. Blood and Breakfast also had Nancy, which is fun.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we
And
have
the
all
only
these
ones,
fun
Nancy
films.
was in that. Jordan Miller's the only ones as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many films that we would love to show, but
Nancy
we,
Ham.
with having all of these different age ranges, we can't have the little ones walking in while you're hanging from some meat hooks.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pretty intense scene.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's just what we used in the film. Um, I will say this about, because some of those kind of imagery is very familiar in certain different things. But I do want to make clear that we were not, especially with that particular thing, we were not mimicking or trying to assimilate any culture's ritual ceremonies.
yeah,
Um, the whole reason with the entire Hook thing was inspired basically because of the voodoo doll, the
yeah.
control
I
concept.
saw that, and then the hooks go in, and
Right.
then the hooks
Most
immediately.
most of the
Yeah,
time, and it's been done ad nauseum, you're going to bang nails. You're going to
yeah,
use pins. You're going to burn it with a cigarette. There's a certain formula to doing that, and I didn't want to do what everyone else is doing.
and then
So it's
why
like,
not why
let's
not
do
have
the
some fish
hooks
hooks go
and the
through.
lines. Right.
Yeah, you
So
got fish hooks going through, the line gets pulled taut, and then the scene that's happening in tandem is, you're watching a Hellraiser-esque scene, and
and
these
once
hooks are
again,
going right in.
right, and then once again, when you get to the end, what mimics this whole thing once again, you see those defibrillator paddles coming to the
Yeah,
chest
yeah.
with those lines coming off,
Well,
and
then
then a quick
you had kind
flashback
of that you had the flickering alternating scenes where it was going from hooks
to
to
the
defibrillator.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is the other
I love it.
inspiration to that.
I thought I thought some of the stuff that you did, I was like, okay, okay. You get impressed by it because with the resources that you have as a low budget filmmaking, it, some of the stuff is just like next level impressive. You go, okay,
Thank you.
okay, that looks good. Yeah. And I've seen movies that have billions of dollars of budget that just look like crap. So what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the creative mind behind it. But
No,
fair,
we have a wonderful and very talented cast and crew,
you
and
do.
that's what gives it the sustenance and the production value.
Absolutely. Well, Ference, this has been a hell of an hour. If anybody's looking to follow their page, they're on all the social media, Things Forsaken. Um, find them on YouTube. Watch some of these shorts to hold you over until you can get the movie.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we have
watch
the
the
web
shorts.
series. Yeah,
The the one where you're the one that has the electric chair is fantastic. I've described it to people as it looks like a Tales from the Crypt meets Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because it's got that just a dash of that cheesiness that it needs, but
I
it's
grew up with
very well
Tales from the
done.
Crypt. Yeah, well, I mean, like
Yeah,
there he is, right there.
yeah, but like that's
Yeah, that's a
it.
1990s one, and it still talks.
Oh wow. But
Yeah,
that's what I equate it to. It's that Are You Afraid of the Dark, the kids show on Nickelodeon, mixed with the Tales from the Crypt, because you have it's just that perfect balance, and then as you said, the other half is just that prop making, and it's just at that point you're just carving something, and now you're watching a learning channel documentary, and then you
right.
get fried. So then you're like, oh wait, that's right, I'm watching this thing. It's messed up. I forgot.
Hey,
Um,
people do they really do dig the electric chair, especially yeah,
oh
come and
yeah,
have a seat. It's free, free photo ops. The people love it, and it's great. It's great for us too because if I'm strapping you in that chair, you have no choice but to listen to everything I'm telling you all about what we do.
you got no way out of it. Yeah, that's how you get them. But thank you so much for joining tonight. This has been a blast. I know we had
Oh,
a good
Harry,
time
thank
last
you.
time, and we'll have too much fun this September with God, I don't even know how we're gonna work all of this space that we have, but we're gonna make it work. It's gonna be a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
looking very forward to it, man. Thank you, Harry.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and